So The Accountant 2 is the new movie by Gavin O'Connor. It's a sequel to The Accountant, which came out in October of 2016, a while ago, really. And for this to be an original sequel coming out years later, and it's not like the first movie was so popular, I really was just curious why. What made Ben Affleck star in this movie? What got him and Gavin O'Connor to team up again? They've worked together in movies like The Way Back, The Accountant. There's just something about this film that intrigued me when it was announced. Why The Accountant 2? The movie follows Christian Wolff, who is an autistic math savant. He's an accountant who works for criminals laundering their money. And in this movie, he is a good guy. He was kind of a good guy in the last one. I honestly haven't seen the original Accountant since 2016, so I kind of just went into this one assuming I'll, remember everything that happened. And I already forgot there were details in the first one that they just came back to me. There's this whole society of autistic kids where Christian Wolff grew up as a kid, or where he was trained. He went to the school there. It's basically kind of like the X-Men for kids with special needs. They're just these genius kids who kind of help do all sorts of crazy shit, like facial recognition. They can sweep cameras. They basically have this almost like James Bond and Q relationship where the accountant, who's played by Ben Affleck, is trying to stop the bad guys, and he goes to these kids who are in this lab, and they're like giving him information, or they're shutting down traffic lights. It is fun and pretty silly in how it's presented, but I do like that. I think this movie, tries to ride this tone of being like a serious adult film, but then it has moments like with the autistic kids who can hack into traffic cameras, and there is something about that that's entertaining and it's sweet, like to just see these kids working together. But it's something that's also just a bit silly with how it's this serious, trying to stop these bad guys. I think that overall the issue with The Accountant 2 is it so badly wants to be this serious drama, but that's hard to do. It would work as a fun, campy action film, which it succeeds at being, and a lot of the parts towards its latter half, especially the chemistry between Jon Bernthal and Ben Affleck, are the best part of the movie. But I think the movie just suffers from not having this sturdy plot. It's honestly a bit confusing. I really did like the bones of this movie, but I feel that the way it's organized, the way it's arranged, is a bit messy. You see, the movie opens with J.K. Simmons, who was in the last movie. I forgot he was alive. Apparently he gets killed in this movie at the very beginning, so it's not really a spoiler, because he's trying to help find this family who are missing, who he for some reason cares about. The issue with this is we never really get a reason why J.K. Simmons is so invested. He's killed, and then he leaves a note on his arm that says, "Find the accountant," who's Ben Affleck. And then we move to Ben Affleck, who is now trying to solve this case, and he's working with this U.S. Treasury Department agent, Mary Beth Medina, who was in the first Accountant. I like the, merging of this serious government worker with this guy who launders money, who's autistic, with then eventually his brother, Jon Bernthal, comes in, and Jon Bernthal brings the total opposite energy, where he's kind of chaotic and he will just say whatever he wants. He's a hitman. He's fun. He jokes around. The chemistry is great between all these characters. I just think that the plot itself is confusing. It's a lot, and it isn't a story that really registers emotionally. You see, I kind of want to get into spoilers here. You find out that one of the people they're looking for is actually grown up to be an assassin, and it just was so unclear to me who was the good guy and who was the bad guy. And also the bad guys in this, I just hate that they are these faceless goons. We don't really know who the bad guys are. We don't really understand their motives. They're just these traffickers. I'm thinking of the Jason Statham movie, A Working Man, which the whole time is so silly, so fucking stupid. I mean, I thought that movie was just committed to being insane. I mean, people wear the most ridiculous hats in that movie. It was hilarious. It was insane. The Accountant 2 tries to be more serious. It is a more adult drama where Working Man is just batshit. But I do think that there is this kind of middle ground that The Accountant 2 needed to get at, where we needed bad villains. We need villains we can actually get behind. I don't like that they're just hunting these random guys who we barely see because, oh, they're trafficking kids, they're, hurting kids. There's also supposed to be one kid who they're looking for who apparently has special needs, which is interesting because, Ben Affleck has special needs. But it's like, why does he care about this kid? It is explained kind of, but not in a way that's interesting. They described this movie, I think, as Rain Man on steroids. Sure. It just could have been a lot better. Not to say, though, this movie does have a lot of stuff that we don't see in modern movies that I really did appreciate. That being, it felt like a throwback 90s movie where, again, it's not related to this big franchise now. It is a sequel, but there's a part where Jon Bernthal and Ben Affleck are bonding. Their whole chemistry here is great because they didn't have as much of that in the last film. Really building on that bond between the brothers is a great move that really does bring out this new energy to the movie, and it's great. There's a part where they go to a bar and they're line dancing and a waitress hits on Ben Affleck, but the whole movie he's kind of giving his quirky answers. He isn't social. He is an autistic guy who really just can't communicate. And then Jon Bernthal's like, oh man, that waitress was hitting on you. You blew it. But then they start dancing. And then there's this bar fight because some guy's like, you shouldn't be hitting on my girl. It's extremely cheesy. But then the movie does this freeze frame shot and it shows the aftermath of the bar fight. It's just such a risk. It's just something you don't really see in movies. It feels like a throwback. And I absolutely loved that. This movie is distinctly Hollywood, where Ben Affleck and Jon Bernthal, spoiler alert, I'll get into spoilers here because it really isn't that surprising where this movie goes. Towards the end, they do rescue these kids from these traffickers, these random bad traffickers who are really just cartoon villains. And they come in a school bus, pick up the kids, and it's like these two guys driving these kids in the school bus, and then they stop, and Jon Bernthal picks up a cat, and he's like, I've always wanted a cat, and they just adopt the cat. It gets the job done because it has this mix of serious, something I can take seriously. It's like a dad movie to its core in that way, but it also has these fun moments that you don't get in modern dad movies. It just feels like it's balancing being serious with being fun, and I think it mostly works. I did have fun with it. That is to say, though, that the characters, aside from our main characters, were pretty dull. I want bad guys in these movies to be more than just cartoon traffickers. Make them actually someone who, we should be afraid of. This movie is fun. I did have fun with it. And Ben Affleck's performance as Christian Wolf is really good. I know in the first one, people were criticizing that movie for, his portrayal of someone with autism, where Ben Affleck does not have autism. But I think he does a really great job at this role and making the role, specifically unique and entertaining and making his character very interesting. And it doesn't cross any lines or do anything offensive. I think that the relationship between him and Jon Bernthal is so good. Really just makes the movie. So let me know what you guys think. This isn't a movie I would say you need to see in the theater. I saw it in the theater, but it does kind of feel like it would work at home. I think if you happen to have a great crowd for this, it would be fun. There's a lot of funny moments that would be great, for everyone to laugh at in the theater, but I don't think this is a movie that's going to be that crowded, especially with Thunderbolts coming out, and we're going to be having Mission Impossible Final Destination soon. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks so much for watching, and I appreciate you guys watching.